Hello, my name is Andrew Morrice. I'm a GP and I'm also a human givens therapist, and I've been asked to say a few words about men's health in the context of the human givens approach, and I thought where better to address this from than the garage. So I have noticed over the years that there's a tendency for men to not be as prompt in coming forward with health concerns, to present to their own doctors with serious illnesses really much later in the course of that illness than women will typically do, and to be more reluctant, although this has changed for the better in many ways in recent years, to be somewhat more reluctant to seek help for difficulty in the realm of how they're thinking and feeling, what we might call mental and emotional health. And reflecting on this over the years, there are a number of things that I think interfere with men's ability to look after their health better. And there are three particularly interesting ideas that we absorb all too readily in our culture that I thought would be worth talking about today. The first of these unhelpful ideas is what I call the movie trailer myth. You know, most of those movie trailers you watch where it's of the sort of action adventure or thriller type. Until quite recently, there was a gravelly bloke on the trailer, and he would announce at some point in the trailer that only one man can, or whatever it was that the only one man was going to be able to do. And I think this idea that only one man can do this and somehow one must be the only man, I think this is a deeply held idea in our culture. We have an idea that we should be able to manage on our own. I remember a few years back building a fairly large and overly ambitious shed in a garden to act as a workspace, and my son was just about at the age where he could offer a little bit of help with this project. And towards the end of this rather long build, he said, "Oh, Dad," he said, "it's amazing. We've done this all on our own." And for a moment it was tempting to believe that we had built this shed all on our own, but I quickly realized that that was not the case. People had sawn the timber, invented, made and distributed the materials, created the tools and the fixings and everything. And talking this through with my son, we very quickly realized that probably thousands of people had been involved in the construction of this shed. The idea that we're doing things on our own is very much an optical illusion, because the truth is that we are and always have been a social creature. We achieve things in groups. If we go back to earlier times, pre-industrial times, it was the case that any sizable building project would have required obviously and visibly large numbers of people. And it's the same with our health. We can't do it all on our own. We need to be involved with other people to get their ideas, their input, their help and support for us, all of us, to achieve healthy lives. The second thing I think that gets in the way of this is somewhat related to the first. It's this idea that we must be strong. Now, men are not the only people to suffer from this idea, I must be strong. But I think there's a mistaken belief that lurks in the bottom of this idea about what strength is and where it comes from. In recent years, we've become more and more familiar with the word resilience, but I think we've yet to really learn and appreciate what this term means in practice. What does it mean to be resilient? What makes us resilient? There is a tendency for us to believe that resilience is purely and simply strength, rather like wrought iron. It's something strong that will hold its shape, and then break. And all too commonly, this is the pattern in men's mental and physical health, is that there's this kind of holding on, and then things break down. Actually, resilient systems are flexible. This is what the term resilience actually means. Resilience means the capacity to bend and accommodate a stress, and then to bounce back again. And what gives us resilience? What gives us resilience is a life in which we are a part of a network of human beings, that we're engaged in a large number of relationships and activities with other people. And this the primary way in which we're able to meet most of our emotional needs. There are very few of our emotional needs which we achieve on our own. In terms of exchanging attention, feeling part of a community, developing competence, and then having those competencies and values acknowledged by people around us, all these kind of emotional needs that we have can only be met in groups of people. Obviously, we need also time to ourselves. We need some privacy, and we also need the capacity to feel that we as individuals can make choices and exert enough control of our environment. We also need to feel safe enough, for instance. But these fundamental emotional needs, if they're being met in balance, we will be more resilient, not just because we will be healthier in ourselves, but also because meeting our emotional needs in balance is really difficult to do without developing the network of connections, the ability to hear and reflect and see ourselves reflected back in what other people are saying, to receive feedback, fresh input and support. All of these things are needed for resilience. We can't do it on our own, and it's not just about being rigid and strong and sticking to a position or a strategy or a way of doing things or a way of solving problems which might have worked for us in the past but may well now need to change. So I think understanding that that strength and resilience are actually flexible, and they arise out of being part of a functioning network, a whole network of relationships with people around us, healthy relationships in which we can get our emotional needs met. The last really disruptive idea that I think men are particularly prone to buy into is the idea that the body is a machine. Now, this idea seemed very scientific and modern about 300 years ago. It really does not hold much water. The body is so unlike any machine that we have yet been able to develop that it is not really a helpful metaphor. It is the case that if we go down to the cellular level and we look right inside ourselves, we can see that proteins and individual enzymes and hormones starts to work more like micro nano machines. But the human body, an individual human being, is more like an ecosystem, or let's say a town or a city. A town or a city may contain many, many, many machines, all the different cars and devices and gadgets that contain it. But what makes the city or the town work is not the machines. It's about something else altogether. So thinking of our bodies as machines is inaccurate, but also I noticed that even this idea we don't follow through to its logical conclusion very well. So if our body's a machine, have we read the manual? Have we read well, the problem with being a human being is that we're not issued with a really high quality user's manual very much in our lives. We may need to piece together the user's manual, and the people around us may not be offering us the most helpful and accurate advice on that, but we read the manual, find out from people who really understand how human beings function what it is that we need to remain healthy. Get it serviced regularly. Look after the maintenance of the machine. Don't wait for it to break down. Learn what the different warning lights like pain, discomfort, poor sleep, or physical restlessness, what all these warning systems may be telling you. Don't ignore, don't just take out the bulb on the warning light on the dashboard. Pay attention. What actually is your human evolved body trying to tell you about how you are now? Do you in fact need to seek some form of help with your health at the moment? And so on this last point, if you're at all interested, we are running another iteration quite soon of my course, the MindBody Connection, which is all about really understanding the genuine science of how people function, how our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, and the way our bodies are physically functioning, how all these things are tied together, and understanding in some detail the simple but really powerful fundamental needs that we all need to meet to remain healthy, not just emotional needs, but physical needs around diet and activity and all sorts of other things, but also understanding how we can interpret all that to make our lives work better for ourselves. So I very much hope that you'll enjoy exploring the resources that the Human Givens websites have available for you. maybe consider coming on the MindBody Connection, or maybe you're watching this video because you're concerned that you may be running into problems with your mental and emotional health. Help is at hand, and strong people seek help. They look to upgrade their understanding and their care for their selves, whether we want to think of this as a machine or something else. So here's wishing you the best of health.